For about 30 years, I commuted into Philadelphia from Windmore, Pennsylvania. One of the roads on that route, it's a 45-minute drive, is Lincoln Drive. It winds through Westmount area in Germantown before meeting up with Kelly Drive that follows the Schuylkill River down into Philadelphia. It took years before I started wondering why Lincoln Drive had so many curves. That might be because I was busy trying to stay alive on Lincoln Drive, or it might be because I was thinking about some work-related thing or trying to be on time to drop off or pick up at daycare. But we do tend to accept the world as we see it, rather than question how it came to be. Philadelphia is pretty famous for having been laid out on a grid. It's one of the first examples of organized city planning with William Penn. So what happened when it came time to build the suburbs? A hint is in the lower right-hand corner of that original grid, Dock Creek. It was an ideal place to bring in a small boat, which most of the boats of that 17th century were, and that's why William Penn landed there. Over time, Dock Creek became so polluted, though, that decision was made to cover it over. The only evidence of the creek now is a street that bears that name in Center City, Philadelphia. Dock Creek became a template for what would happen to all of the creeks, or most of the creeks, in Philadelphia. The peninsula between the Schuylkill River and the Delaware River was interlaced with small streams. No longer. They have all become sewers. In 1849, you could still find Monoshone Creek on a map. It wound through farmland at that time, no longer forest, and supported a couple of mills. In the late 19th century, we were on a pipe building binge, covering over creeks, providing sewers for all the new development that was going on in the city. And that's why Lincoln Drive has so many curves. It follows the bed. It covers over Monoshone Creek. The creek emerges from under Lincoln Drive at the edge of Wissahickon Park. It parallels the road, but is invisible from it. You really have to walk in order to see the creek between walls, going over waterfalls, and dropping down into a steep gorge after it passes through Rittenhouse Town. The park itself was constructed during the City Beautiful era. This is an era that brought Central Park to New York City, the Benjamin Franklin Parkway to Philadelphia, the Mall to Washington, D.C. It valued nature as a balm for society's ills. Parks were seen as a way to improve society and give people a common meeting place. So the designers in that era were very much taken with nature, but they did not hesitate to manipulate it. Many of their projects included dams, putting creeks in pipes. It was more about making a garden than a natural environment. It's not like they buried a pristine creek when Lincoln Drive was built over the Monashone. It was a farming and industrial era at the time. The creek was full of nutrients. It had been dammed. No aquatic wildlife was moving up and down this stream. The first paper mill in the country was built on Monoshone Creek in Rittenhouse Town. Paper making is very polluting. They were not only using the stream to provide power for the mill, but also as a way to dispose of the waste from paper making. The lower part of Lincoln Drive is actually an access road to that mill originally, probably following a path along the Wissahickon Creek that had been used for centuries by the Native Americans. Monashone Creek provides a great example of our culture's approach to nature. It is something to be profited from, manipulated, and perhaps used to improve society, but not appreciated necessarily for its own sake. As we see our oceans fill with plastic, we see wildlife habitat disappearing, and we see the effects of climate change bringing us severe weather events. This knowledge is of critical importance. It's a good place to start examining our approach and maybe changing it.